Remember those new words your dad taught you when he stapled his thumb? Thank him this Father's Day by entering to win Sport Clips Props to Pop sweepstakes at sportclips.com/Father's Day. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy. No purchase necessary. N616 must be 18 or older. Subject to official rules at sportclips.com. Void where prohibited.
I want to know what a hyperbaric chamber actually is. I know what it theoretically does, and now Himbo's telling me how much one costs. Someone tell me what it actually is. We're Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Those of you on TV just saw we did a fascinating piece. So many things about this. First of all, Erin Hills is a classic link-style course. They're making more and more of these in the United States. Bayonne Golf Club out in New Jersey is spectacular. But links golf, Mike, is meant to be played when it's 50 and windy and freezing. They're playing it and it's going to be 90 degrees and humid because they're not in Ireland. They're in Wisconsin.
Right, exactly.
in June. But forgetting that, the course is playing 7,700 yards, which is like 30 miles. And then the caddies, Collins is telling us, are going to sleep in hyperbaric chambers to recover. What is a hyperbaric chamber?
It's like oxygen therapy. It's supposed to help you recover quicker and better.
Why doesn't everyone do it? I mean, I don't understand.
I don't think everybody has $15,000.
No, I don't mean like everyone, normal people, but how about like all the athletes? Why in the world would LeBron James ever sleep a night not in a hyperbaric chamber?
I think there are more than a few that do have them.
I got to get one of those.
But I don't know why. I've had an idea. Listening to Michael Collins about the caddies, you obviously way more into golf than I am, though I do love to watch it. Caddies are extremely important, are they not?
Yes.
Unbelievably important to a golfer, correct?
Do you mean on tour or like an average
tour.
hack?
Oh,
on
my
tour.
God,
yeah.
On tour, they're unbelievably important, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Now we're talking, Michael Collins is saying they're basically walking 10,000 yards a day.
Yeah.
Carrying the golfer's bag.
Correct.
Working together in harmony, right?
Are you about to suggest the player should offer to carry it a little bit?
No, not at all.
I'm
saying they should have somebody else carry the bag. Just somebody just someone who's some hack who doesn't know anything about golf. Just some big oaf. Just carry the bag.
You carry it.
That way, the caddy isn't getting tired from carrying the bag and can offer better advice to the golfer. They can really work as a team, walk along together, while some, big schlep is carrying the bag. How about that?
Let's suggest that to Andy North and
Absolutely.
see what he has to say.
Why would he care? He's still not carrying the bag.
He's going to join us any moment here on Mike and Mike. We'll get his thoughts on all of this. Also, I want to just clean up some of the stuff that we had in the first hour, talking about great rivalries. Certainly, Mike, we didn't mention any of the golf rivalries. So Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, right off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Did Tiger Woods have a rival? Would we call Mickelson a rival? It's probably not.
Winning so much.
Wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, Mickelson was not close enough to Tiger for that truly to be a rivalry, right? So he really didn't have one.
No, I don't think he had one.
There were great historical rivalries in that sport. Michael tweets at us, how about Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon? Joe tweets at us, Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, followed by Affirmed and Aladar. I mean, I remember those two running neck and neck through 3 consecutive Triple Crown races. Do we consider horses a rivalry? Did they know each other? Did Affirmed look over the other side of the track, see Aladar, and think, I got to bring it today?
Not him again.
That Aladar brings out the best in me.
Don't get me going on when we bring animals into this, okay? What was that ridiculous list that had, like, Secretariat?
Sports Century.
I mean,
one of the great athletes of the 20th century.
Oh, my God.
It was ingenious.
Just stop it.
You know why it was ingenious?
Yeah.
Because it got you talking about it for a full hour.
True, really did.
On Mike and Mike, so that it probably helped the rating.
We need to do an animal one.
How about coaches, Woody and Bo?
See, I start to get it because people will say, like, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, you don't play against one another. I know they coached against one another, but I just don't think about that in the truest sense.
But then football players, so you're saying only an offensive versus defensive player can have a rivalry?
And Tom Brady are not, it's not a rivalry.
I disagree.
Oh, a rivalry is when people go against one another, when you're trying to beat them. Whether in golf you're trying to beat that person in a field as well. Tennis, boxing,
Arnold Palmer
basketball.
Didn't have any more impact on what Jack Nicklaus did than Peyton Manning did on what Tom Brady did.
He's still going against him. His score is matched against his score. They're playing.
So are Brady and Manning.
No.
I think the great quarterback rivalries do count.
Absolutely, positively not.
How about coaches?
No.
Coaches?
Coaches,
You're
yeah.
coaching against each other?
I was just so used to saying no to you.
Because coaches, I think, do
I will
apply.
absolutely give coaches more leeway there. Not quarterbacks. No chance.
All right, Mike and Mike brought to you in part by the free 18 Birdies app. Make your phone the best club in your bag, and everyone's going to feel like playing golf this weekend with the U.S. Open getting set to get underway. And as we bring Andy North into the conversation, I want you all to hear what Rory McIlroy had to say.
Yeah.
People were talking about Erin Hills, and I've never been there. I'm dying to go. There's a huge layout in Golf Digest about it this week. You want to go? It looks fabulous.
Got to
right?
have some great cheese plates there.
They probably do. So you could enjoy those. And then, it's playing 7,700 yards, and they were talking about how difficult the fescue is.
Yeah.
And Kevin Na did this great breakdown.
It's unreal. He threw the ball. We're going to show it a little later. A couple of yards away into the fescue and couldn't see the ball. And then could see it, but couldn't hit out. I don't know what you do.
They were talking. Well, you have to take it unplayable live. But I guess they were saying that
you can just take it out of there and set it down somewhere else.
It's a one-stroke penalty.
Oh, there's a penalty involved?
There's a penalty involved.
Oh, I've been playing golf the wrong way. A lot of you. There have been so many balls I hit. I can't play it there, and I just put it in the middle of the fairway. I was supposed to penalize myself a stroke.
That's why you win all the time.
Wow.
But anyway, so you would think the players would like it if they made it easier. Well, they took down some of that fescue. Rory McIlroy seems not to have liked that at all.
Really?
A lot of the fescue. Yeah.
I mean, we have 60 yards from left line to right line. You've got 156 of the best players in the world here. If we can't hit it within that avenue, you may as well pack your bags and go home. I don't get... These are the widest fairways we've ever played in a U.S. Open. And even the first and second cut, it's another 10 yards on top of that. So if you've got 50 or 60 yards to hit into and you're complaining about the fescue that's wider than that, I don't think that's an issue.
Three things. First, I agree. I love what he said. Second, and maybe most importantly, I love the way he said it. And third, for a hack like me, if I'm looking down the tee box and I'm seeing 60 yards, I might as well have to land it on a straw. That's how thin it looks to me.
Let's bring Andy North into this conversation. On that note, he won 2 U.S. Opens in his day and is now obviously our terrific friend and golf analyst. And he went to Wisconsin, and he loves it there, and so all of that. So this is in his backyard. So first of all, top of the morning to you, Andy North.
Gentlemen, good to see you. And Mike, cheese plates, cheese curds, little spotted cow, you'd fit right in here, pal.
Got to be unbelievable with the gallons of beer I would drink. It would just, it'd be heaven. I need to get put on that course.
Now, Andy, you heard Rory talking about he likes the fescue. You have to hit it in that. Now, this is a guy who grew up at Royal County Down, which is the classic links course maybe on planet Earth, and plays harder. I don't care how long or short it is. It plays harder than anything that's going to happen at Erin Hills this week on an average day. What are your thoughts, Andy, on just how difficult this will be for the players? Maybe the guys from Europe will have a little bit of an advantage because they're more accustomed to that style of play?
Well, I think I do agree with Rory. The fescue here is brutal as I've seen in a long, long time because of the wet spring, so it's so thick. It's not the long, wispy stuff we see at the Open Championship. It's a much thicker version of that. So if you hit it in there, most cases you're going to really struggle to get it out. But I do agree with him, the fact that the fairways are the widest ones we've seen maybe ever in the U.S. Open. And, you'd think that guys could get it in the fairway. And I think we're going to see some players hit every fairway during rounds this week. So it's going to be a good test. It's really long, but these guys hit it 8 miles, so it's going to be fun to see what happens.
I'd be hitting a 9-iron on every tee box at about $1.50.
You wouldn't get to the fairways that way.
Oh, well, good point there. So let me ask you this. So as someone, a casual fan watching, or when you're hearing about the fescue and all that, so to me, I love the fact of watching these guys try and hit out of it. I love when a golf course is really, making guys drop to their knees. So we won't see every shot on TV, but of all the shots that are taken and all the balls that are hitting to the fescue, how many guys will do what Greeny just said, who will take it as an unplayable, take the stroke penalty just to get it out of there and try not to hack it out and cost themselves even more?
Well, there will be some unplayable lies. I think there'll be some lost balls this week in that fescue. The problem is if you hit it deep enough into the fescue, you don't have a lot of really good options. One of the unplayable options is to go back to the tee. The other is 2 club links. Well, if it's so deep around it, you're not a good position there. One other one is keep that point between yourself and the hole and go back as far as you want to. You might see guys going back 50 or 60 yards to get into a mode area that they can hit it. So it's gonna slow play down. It's gonna be very, very interesting. I could see rounds this week where a guy goes out and makes 12, 13 birdies, 12 or 13 pars, 3 or 4 birdies, and make a 7 or an 8 on a hole. So we're going to see some wild stuff, and it won't be over until it's over.
Mike, the great Andy North is with us here. So a unique golf course relative to what we're accustomed to at the U.S. Open. So give us a couple of names that we know that you think it favors, and maybe a couple of names that we know that it may not work in favor of.
Well, I think it's always really simple just to take the best players. But I think this is a golf course that if you can hit the ball a long way and you drive it straight, you have a huge advantage. If we see a Dustin Johnson or a Rory McIlroy or a Jason Day play at their top level like we've seen in the past at times, they're big favorites. I like Adam Scott. The guy's a great driver of the golf ball. He's rounded in majors all the time. I think he's got a great chance. And I'll tell you, this young John Rahm, he's an amazing player. Can he win a U.S. Open as a rookie? Jack Nicklaus did it. This guy is really special, but it's going to be fun. But the longer hitters have a huge advantage this week.
How about a score? You talk about the players. How about a score? We touched on this last week. We were trying to guess what a winning score area would be.
Honestly, I'm usually pretty good at figuring out what the score is going to be. I don't have a clue. I mean, seriously, I don't have a clue this week. You could have a score even par-ish, 1 over, 2 over if the wind blows, or if the weather's good, you might have 15 or 18 under. I mean, it's that kind of variable here. I think you're going to see some of the biggest differences in scores from round to round. I think you could have a score on tomorrow. Somebody could shoot 65 or 66. You also could have a round, that could be 90. So you're going to have a huge variance amongst the players in this field. The golf course is unusual. There's a lot of elevation change. It's a very, very difficult walk. And we're going to see a lot of areas where the ball is going to roll off of a green after a pretty good shot, and it might roll 30, 40, 50 yards away from the green. So there's some crazy stuff that can happen this week. That
would aggravate me. I hit the green about as often as I get a quarterback sack, so to see it roll off would just be so detrimental. I just thought of it. I just thought of it right now, Andy. Why did they cut the fescue? I mean, did enough people complain? Why do they give in? If a lot of people complain, can't they just say, "Tough, man, hit it in the fairway," like Rory said, and deal with it?
Well, I sort of agree with that, but I'm a lot older and crotchier than a lot of people. But I think part of it, we were told that the fescue is long enough that we had a big rainstorm here the other night, and a lot of it laid down, and they're trying to make sure that they cut it enough that it stays standing up and it doesn't lay down. If you hit it in there where it's laying down underneath it, you'd never get it out. So it sounds like a good explanation. I think they probably listened to what some of the players are saying also.
Mike, Andy North is with us. And then there'll be a lot of attention on players that aren't there, and one of those continues to be Tiger Woods. And we all are aware of all the stuff that happened with Tiger recently. And I'm just curious, when everyone is there together now, and it's the first major championship since that event took place, I'm curious what kind of conversations are going on around Tiger. Are people showing a lot of concern for him? Are people expecting that we'll never see him back in a contending situation again? What are people around the golf course right now and around the golf world saying about Tiger?
Well, I think the biggest thing that they just hope that he gets well. I mean, he's got a problem, and hopefully he gets taken care of and gets better. I mean, he's been in pain for a long, long time, and it sounds like the last operation is taking care of some of that. Now this gives him an opportunity to take care of some of the problems that he's had with the painkiller. So, everybody's here is hoping that he gets his life together, not just forget about the golf. Let's get to the point where he can be a happy, healthy guy the rest of his life for his kids. So I think that's been the main thing. But, the guys are focused in on trying to figure out how to play this golf course. So that's kind of what the main thought is this week.
And then Phil Mickelson missing for the graduation of his daughter, who 18 years ago he was wearing a beeper at the U.S. Open before this daughter was born, and said if his wife went into labor, he was going to leave. Tough to answer, but you have to be an older player, obviously, to have an 18-year-old daughter who's going to graduate from high school. We talk about this all the time. If athletes are going to have babies, would they stay for the game? If their wives, I should say, have the baby, you stay for the game. Do you miss the game? Do you think what percentage of players do you think in this situation, and I know it's different with money made and all that, would actually skip this type of a tournament for a high school graduation?
I think most everybody would. I mean, it's just not a high school graduation. She is valedictorian. She is captain of a bunch of sports teams. She's giving the commencement speech. I mean, it's all the things that you dream of a parent. And you guys have been there. You know how important those days are. And yes, this is a golf tournament that he hasn't won. It means so much to him, but that's totally secondary to what's going on with their family right now.
It's well said.
Yep, absolutely.
Andy, enjoy it this week. We'll definitely check in as it gets going. I can't wait to watch, and I can't wait to hear all of your analysis all weekend long. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
You got it, guys. We can get you up here. I can get you on here. I know a few people, so we'll have to make it work.
I bet he does know a few people.
He's
there,
the man to know. Andy North, if you're looking at, now, Andy, I'm about to ruin the rest of your day and maybe the rest of your year, but if you're looking to play golf sometime, call Andy. Andy's the guy to talk to. He's got all the connects.
Let's go play that course. You wouldn't play that with me, though, would you?
Well, I don't like playing anywhere with you because you don't take it seriously enough for me. I acknowledge I take it too seriously.
Yes, you do.
But you take it much. Let's put it this way. Whatever the line of how seriously a person like us should take golf is, I'm much closer to it than you are.
Oh, yeah.
If you're picking the ball up in the fescue, dropping it in another in a perfectly reasonable spot, and not assessing a penalty to yourself, just be aware. Whatever activity is you think you are engaged in, it isn't golf.
Is that wrong?
I mean, it just isn't golf.
It isn't.
And it's like in football, if you say, well, yeah, he was out of bounds, but, he was really close, so we're just going to say he was in bounds. You're not playing football anymore.
I played in ignorance. I didn't know that rule. Is that a real rule?
Yes, you can pick if there's two different things that can happen.
Kidding. I do
know.
No,
I know that.
Yeah.
But if you hit it in the fescue, there's two different things can happen. If you don't find it, if you can't find it, you have 5 minutes to find it.
Right.
Now that's a lost ball.
Now it's a lost ball.
That stroke and distance, you got to go back.
You got to go back to the tee box.
They don't hit provisionals in circumstances like that.
I call it a mulligan.
Like we do.
Wait, I got 30 mulligans here. Can I use
one man's mulligan is another man's provisional.
Aren't we raising money for something?
I'm good with that. Aren't we raising money?
For the kids.
Golic has never played a round of golf that was not a charitable endeavor.
Exactly right, and I'm always giving to the kids, and I get mulligans for it.
If you can find it, then you can take what's called an unplayable lie, which is to say you're better off not hitting it there, so you can pick it up and you can. What the last thing Andy said is what they'll do is you can take it on a straight line back to wherever it is you hit it from, back to the tee, for example, and drop it anywhere on that straight line.
But like he also said, if you're deep in it and have no other options, you may either have to try and hit it or just go back to the tee box, right?
But you can take it back on a straight line to the tee box. So I think you just pick it back to get
as
out
far
of
as you
the
can
fescue.
go until you get out of it.
It could be as many as 50, 60 yards.
How about this? How many golf clubs you allowed in the bag?
14.
Take one out, weed whacker in. What do we think?
I think that would be
one of those small little weed whackers.
That'd be an interesting conversation to have with the rules official.
Wouldn't that be something though? I'd be like, find me the rules. What would the
rule
be
is? You're not allowed to move anything that is growing or something. There's an actual where you can move a twig, but you can't move something that is.
So if that's like
it has a word.
Fescue is living.
It's growing and it's.
got
I forget what the word is. It has a. What's that?
Because it got the chlorophyll.
It's got. What is that from?
That's from.
Everything you do now is from
the Water Boy.
Mike and Mike.
I'm sorry, actually, it's from Billy Madison.
Andy was on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold.
Let me just finish it. Go on with the chlorophyll. All right, I just had to do the line.
Speaking of gold.
Yeah.
Because we have a minute here, I just have to share with you how funny people can be.
Okay.
So we were talking earlier this morning about the clothesline, the legendary play where Mikhail takes out Rambis. So Nuzo, who's doing our social, he sent me the little highlight of that play, and I posted it on Twitter. So it's at ESPN Greeny right now, and you have to go look at the responses. I posted it with the question, if this play happened in Game 1 of the NBA Finals this year, what would the discipline have been? Right? So I just happened to glance.
Fair question.
At what some of the risks, because you said firing squad.
Firing squad or a hobbling.
That's very funny.
Thank you.
Anyway, here are the immediate responses. First, the series would have been canceled. Second, it's only Rambis. $5 fine. If it's Durant, life in prison with possible parole after 15 years. The next one, lifetime persecution, universal opprobrium, and cancellation of your Netflix account. Next one, congressional inquiry. Next one, the players would have been now I don't want to say this because it knocks Jeff Van Gundy, who I love, but it's kind of a funny shot at Van Gundy in a funny way. And then the last one that I like, we're assuming today's officials would have seen it.
Oh, how about that?
I mean, just phenomenal.
That's a great one.
If JR did it, suspension. If Zaza Pachulia did it, nothing would happen. I mean, just hilarious.
Yeah, that's
responses.
good stuff. That's gold right there.
Funny stuff.
That's gold. And quite honestly, in really talking about it, you know what? And I think it does. Kurt Rambis jumped up, got in the fight, wasn't hurt, right?
Correct.
I think that would go into it. If
that he wasn't injured,
he laid down and had to be carried off the court. That might be a different thing.
And that, Mike, to me today, that is a minimum of a 2-game suspension in the finals.
I even say 3.
Probably 3. In the regular season, 10?
10 games.
15?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And again, if they'd have to cart him off and the guy was really hurt, it might be more.
And I just got the rule. My pro, Dan Savannah, sent me a note. You can't move anything fixed or growing. Fixed or growing.
I'm not moving it. I'm cutting it.
Well,
I'm not actually moving it. I'm cutting it.
Not okay.
That's not okay.
Can't do it.
Every deck is made for standing on, but there's only one that's always had a way of standing out. So if you're looking to bring more style, comfort, and creativity to your life outdoors, call on the brand that's known for making the most in outdoor living. From decking, railing, and lighting to furniture, fencing, and framing, at Trex, we're engineering what's next in outdoor living. To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, call 1-800-289-TREX or visit Trex.com. That's TREX.com.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I feel a little sorry for somebody, and I want to hear if you agree with me on this or not.
Who's that?
I feel a little sorry for Lonzo Ball, and here's why. So the Lakers, I just told you in SportsCenter, they worked out Josh Jackson, they worked out De'Aaron Fox. When I have a minute here, I'm going to play a PTI guys talking about that and what it may mean for Lonzo Ball. And I hear and see on Twitter so many people that are like, oh, man, I hope the Lakers pass on him.
Yeah.
That would be so great. It would really give them the comeuppance they deserve. What would it do to Big Baller Brand if he winds up in Sacramento and all of that? And I get it. I get why people feel that way. And you know whose fault that isn't?
Not
It isn't Lonzo Ball's fault.
Everybody's saying that because of LeVar, the father.
I know. And do you know whose life it actually is? It's Lonzo Ball's life.
Yeah.
It's him who'd be getting passed over in the draft.
Now,
it's him who'd not be living out his lifelong dream. I get that he's still going to be in the NBA and all of that.
And he's not going to be affected by those people out there hoping the Lakers don't take him.
But, I mean, this is his dream to be a Laker. He grew up there and all that.
But those people thinking that aren't going to affect where he gets drafted. And unless we find out he doesn't get drafted by a team because of his dad, then. But I mean,
I guess I'm just saying there's all these bad vibes in the air out there being aimed in his direction, and they're not his fault.
Horrible to have the thought about him to fail because if you don't like his dad.
But the people are doing it.
People are doing it. And you know what? As our good friend Colin Cowherd say, that's a you problem. That's the problem for those guys to think, and that's a shame because you shouldn't wish anything on this kid at all. He's done nothing but go out there and play ball, and he's a great ball player, and we'll see where he ends up. But I'm with you. I read it all the time as well, that they want to see him fail because of his father, and that is a shame. I don't think it's going to affect Lonzo's play. I think he's a great player, but it does. There is that thought process out there.
All right, we are Mike and Mike. Much more conversation about that as we go, but let's get back to what we were talking about before. The 30 for 30 continues tonight. It's actually part 3 tonight, but it's the second night of the 30 for 30. It's called Best of Enemies. It's about the legendary rivalry between the Celtics and the Lakers, and right in the middle of so much of all of that was two-time NBA champ Cedric Maxwell, who joins us again on Mike and Mike. Long time no talk. How you been, Cedric?
I'm doing fine, gentlemen. Just great. You guys have introduced my kids who weren't born and who weren't around to me playing back in the NBA. They're like, Dad, that was you? Murphy pushed you in the back? Oh, my God. Let's go get him. I'm like, kids, calm down. It was 30 years ago.
But it was so great, and we're so enjoying watching all of this. And let me ask you the question that I have up on Twitter today. The legendary play that we showed earlier today, and it was in the 30 for 30 last night, where Kevin McHale just clotheslined Kurt Rambis. If that happened today, if that play happens in Game 1 of the NBA Finals right now, what is your best guess of what the reaction of the league would be? What would the discipline be for the player who did it?
We go to Congress. It's right now. Congress is talking about it. There's impeachment hearings, all kind of stuff going on because people would absolutely go crazy. It's just not to be expected anymore in any sport, which amazes me. Other than hockey, a guy could do it in hockey and nothing said, but in basketball, baseball, or football, something like that happens now. People are absolutely going insane.
You know, Cedric, we watch. I'm watching this, and you just watch it and see the comments back and forth. Did you hate the Lakers? And if you did,
absolutely.
If you did, why? Why did you hate them?
Why not? That's what I'll say. I mean, what was there really to like about the Lakers? I mean, they were all pompous. They were all asses. I mean, and here's the thing, biggest thing about it. I loved and idolized Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Had his number when I was in college. Loved him. And the thing about it, because I played with the Celtics, they had all the A1 players. Worthy had won the championship. Magic had won. Kareem had won. Everybody on the Celtics were level B, had not won championships. So for us to play in that particular series, that is why there was so much animosity between the haves and the have-nots.
It's a great explanation. To what degree did it carry over off the court, and to what degree did it carry over after your career was over?
Dude, here's a great story. It must about 2 years ago. I'm in the Staples Center, and I do the radio commentary really for the Celtics, the play-by-play. And I am sitting there. I have my headphones on just before the game, and as I'm about to go on air, all of a sudden somebody slaps me on the back of the head. I look to my left. I see nobody. I look to my right, and Magic Johnson is walking down laughing. Dude, it was still been on right now. I'm thinking, like, are you serious? So it has taken a whole nother life. I think the biggest thing about it, we hated them at that time, but I think we've become like old soldiers where we respect each other and we kind of like each other a little bit more.
We see athletes of today, just because some have the same agents or the same brands they're doing commercials for around each other a lot more in the off season, golf tournaments and such. In your day there, did you ever see any of the guys on the Lakers or in the off season having interaction with them at all?
No, wouldn't have. That would have been like having the same interaction, with the Philadelphia 76ers. No, nobody wanted to be that guy. We did not have cell phones at that time. Obviously, we didn't talk to each other. Nobody really had the same agents. Nobody really wanted to get in contact. If somebody did that on our team, it would have been a kangaroo court where if you were, you were found guilty if you went with the enemy. You were Benedict Arnold before Benedict Arnold. I mean, that's just how it was. We hated them that much.
That's tremendous. It isn't actually before Benedict Arnold, but I know what you mean.
Okay.
Cedric Maxwell,
I'm doing like, wait a minute. I'm doing like Donald Trump. I'm revising history.
There you go.
Cedric Maxwell is with us in 19. You make sure your kids know that in 1981, you were the MVP of the finals on a team that had 4 Hall of Famers, Bird Parrish, Tiny Archibald, and Kevin McHale, and you were the MVP of the finals that year. Now that you mentioned you do the games on 98.5, the Sports Hub. So let's briefly talk about what's going on now. The Celtics have the number 1 pick in the draft. They have a lot of interesting decisions, and they've got 2 monsters to chase. You got the Warriors out west, and you got the Cavaliers there in your own Eastern Conference. What do you think the Celtics need to do?
Well, if I was Danny Ainge, the thing that I would love to do, and there's no collusion here at all, I'd take the first-round pick this year. I'd try to take the first-round pick that you have from Brooklyn next year, which could possibly be number 1. I go down to New Orleans, and I see if I can somehow pry Anthony Davis away and see if New Orleans wants to start over with their team. But you need that kind of player, that impact player that's going to change the dynamics of your team. The Celtics right now did not do a good job rebounding the basketball, and they need needed a shot blocker and a scorer in the inside. He would be the perfect complementary player if, in fact, I had the chance to make those changes.
So you're all in on Isaiah Thomas being the point guard of this team now and into the future?
Yeah, I think that he has been dynamic. He is, does he have deficiencies on the defensive end? Well, Curry has deficiencies on the defensive end. But Isaiah is the leader of this team. He's a great scorer. Everybody said, well, would you want to take somebody else to use him as point guard, one of the younger players right now, a Ball? You wouldn't, because I think one thing you have with Isaiah, you know that he is a 30-point scorer. I don't know what Ball is going to do. I don't know what anybody else would do in that position, but I know Isaiah is dearly loved by everybody in this city.
Mike and Cedric Maxwell, we just watched the Golden State Warriors go 16-1 through this year's postseason and put up numbers and a performance for the ages. You were part of some of the greatest teams of all time. You played against others. What are your thoughts on this year's Warriors and just how good historically you think they were?
It's a dynamic team, but they've only won they've won 2 championships, whereas those Celtic teams during that time, they won 8 in a row, like the Russell teams. But this is a great team. In this modern era, I don't think you can take anything away from them, because you're talking about the game has changed so much from when Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Dennis Johnson and myself and the gang that were there, Nate Archibald. It's a foreign game now, because what we did is posting up and having high percentage shots around the paint. That's gone away with the dodo bird. That is no longer around. So we would have to change our game. They have made the NBA a game now that I don't even recognize, because it's not all about three-point shooting. The mid-range game is gone. No more free throws. It has become just a three-point shooting contest, and there's sometimes when it is a thing of beauty. Sometimes I hate it, though.
I was just going to say, do you like it?
Oh, well, I mean, it gets in between when you see them knocking down threes. But when the ball keeps swinging around to look for a three-pointer, what I hate more than anything, when I get a 7-footer under the rim, and he throws it out to a three-point shooter. Give me the too sure instead of the questionable three. So the game does kind of drive me crazy watching that and as being a broadcaster.
Well, and let me talk about a big man for a second. We're talking to Cedric Maxwell, 2-time NBA champ, 30 for 30, best of enemies, the third part really on tonight, Lakers, Celtics in that rivalry. Back in 81, you were obviously there. In 81, everybody talking about Joe Barry Carroll going to be the number 1 pick, and Red Auerbach made it seem like he was going to take him. Trades that number 1 pick to Golden State for Robert Parrish and the 3rd pick of Golden State, which he picks Kevin McHale, which wasn't that highly rated. It didn't seem at that time. You're on the Celtics, and you see that move going. What did you think about that move?
Dude, here's the best backstory of them all, and I'll let you guys in on it. I talked to Golden State 2 weeks before that. They actually Al Adams actually came to my house in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was a free agent. They said, what we're going to do right now is offer you a free agent sheet, and what we're going to do is we're going to draft this kid named Kevin McHale, and so it's going to be you, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish as our future. I was like, oh, man, that is great. That's absolutely great. I was loving this. And then 2 days later, I read in the paper how they have made this trade. So I can't believe that Golden State did what they did, and the fortunes of the Celtics changed because of Golden State. And now let's look at it modern time, how the fortunes of the Celtics would change possibly again because of what happened down in Brooklyn, them giving the Celtics the number 1 picks and how they're going to come back from that.
It's a great comparison. And this was a great conversation. Yeah. Such a pleasure to talk again. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll check in again down the road. Have a great summer.
Hate the Lakers.
That's the great Cedric Maxwell. Thank you so much. And I'll just give you an example. Like I was a kid in New York. I was a Knicks fan. I hated the Celtics, and the number 1 guy you hated, and he is, I mean, you just heard him. He is the nicest, most fun guy in the world. You hated Cornbread Maxwell. He was standing there waving that towel around. As a fan, my goodness, you hated that guy.
What a great story, though. He was almost teammates with Parrish and McHale in Golden State.
Yep.
Not in Boston. That's something.
And history rewritten completely. And he is so good. What a good guest.
Yeah, really is. Yeah.
What a good guy. Yeah, and if his kids are still watching, he was a darn good player.
Sure was.
And he was the MVP of that year in the finals.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
Let's talk about power.
To illustrate this, allow me to tell you a story about how I moved a tow truck 25 miles using only my index finger. I was stranded with a flat tire. I opened the Geico app. Then, with a few taps of my finger, I beckoned emergency roadside assistance and a tow truck to my car. I invite you all to unleash the full potential of your fingertips with the Geico app. Thank you.
You guys are hilarious. Again, the McHale clothesline on Rambis, which was in the 30 for 30 last night, which I posted on Twitter, and I just asked, and I really was, I didn't even mean this to lead too funny. I meant it to just ask the question, what would the punishment be if you saw it play like that in Game 1 of the finals this year? Michael tweets, Draymond Green and his mom would have been banned for life, and LeBron James would have been asked how he felt about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Bean P. Way tweeted, if KD got fouled like that, the offender would have to pick which finger on his shooting hand they would remove.
That's awesome. And Steve finishes it up the best. The player would be traded to the Knicks with no chance to leave. That's really good.
It's just hilarious.
You all do such great work for us.
You really do.
You really
1,000
do.
times funnier than we'll ever do.
Without question.
All the Twitter reaction through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes a spring birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, 1-800-Flowers is offering an exclusive 24 for 24 offer. 24 multicolored roses for $24. That's only $1 per rose. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So we've got a pretty good organic trivia question here, Mike, because Hembo is doing great work this morning on the research, illustrating the difference in the way the game of basketball is played now versus the way it was played when the Celtics and Lakers were going head-to-head in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the big difference is the three-point shot.
Yes.
You just heard Cedric Maxwell talking about it. It has opened up the court. It has changed everything about basketball. And here's a great way to look at it. There have been 61 MVPs in NBA history.
Okay?
24 of those were prior to the three-point line, 37 of them after the three-point line. Before there was a three-point shot in basketball, out of the 24 NBA MVPs, how many of them do you think were centers? Out of the 24 MVPs.
I would say just about all of them.
22 out of 24.
Okay.
So 92%. Since the three-point shot came into basketball.
What year again?
1980. There have been 37 MVPs. How many of those do you think were centers?
Oh, barely any.
6.
Okay.
So it's gone from 92% to 16%.
Okay.
Now, what I don't have in front of me, because Hembo didn't give it to us, and we'll do it as a trivia question, is can we name the 2 non-centers who were MVPs before that? So the MVP award is going to, it would have started what year? Roughly in the 50s? 56.
Okay. Well,
so it's going to, Russell, Chamberlain.
MVP of the, not finals,
of the league. Of the league. The MVP of the league, 2 guys.
Oscar Robertson?
Correct.
And Dr. J?
No, Dr. J. No.
Big O won it the year after he got the triple.
2 years after. He finished 7 rebounds shy.
Yeah, that's right.
Year.
He finished third the year he got the triple-double.
I would have said Jerry West, but you pointed out to me yesterday he never won league MVP.
He and Elgin Baylor never won league MVP. So the Big O is one.
We're talking about 1980, so we're going back into the 70s.
Non-center, not Dr. J.
Non-centers. Would Elvin Hayes have ever won MVP?
I got mine. I'm waiting on you to get yours.
Okay. I'm working on John Havlicek?
1957 was the year.
Oh, so we're going all the way back.
Smokes.
Someone like Hank Arizin or is this a name I know?
You know what we need now?
This is a name you know.
God rest his soul. We need Arnold. We need your dad.
Dolph
right now.
Shays. Yeah, my father right now is yelling from wherever he is. How in the world do you not know this?
Celtics.
Tom Heinsohn, Don Nelson, Sam Jones, Casey Jones, Bob Cousy.
Bob Cousy.
All right, that should have been.
Come on.
Right,
you should have known that. I wasn't even trying anymore because I got mine.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Of course, we should have guessed Bob Cousy. But think about that.
Wow.
Bob Cousy in 1957. And then Oscar Robertson, and then nobody else.
Oscar Robertson would have been, what, 64?
64.
So from 1965 to 1979, every MVP was a center.
A center.
So it would have been some combination, I'm guessing, of Russell, Chamberlain, Jabbar, or Alcindor as he was then known.
Right.
Who else? Did others sneak in there? There has to have been others.
Wes Unseld and Willis Reed as well.
Wes Unseld, I think, was MVP as a rookie. I think he was MVP of the league as a rookie.